Okay, so this video is to help you with the writing task, the Act 1 writing task. The reason why I'm going back to this is because not only is this a grade-wide assessment, but it is also your major grade. And so, because it's your major grade, if you have not done it yet, then your grade is probably really low. And if you did do it, but you haven't gotten a good grade for it, then that's another reason why your grade is very low. Now, some of you might be looking to get out of doing the writing task because I understand you might not like to write. However, you will be doing a lot more writing this quarter and next quarter. And so it's really important for you to learn the skills that you need to know in order to get good grades on your writing assignments, because I am going to keep giving you writing assignments. And isn't it better to learn how to do it as opposed to not doing it and not getting a good grade for it? So again, if you haven't done the writing assignment yet, then you definitely want to finish watching this video. If you have done it, but you got a low score, you definitely want to watch this video. All right, so we're going to start from here. So when you go into Schoology and you go into week 4, January 25th through January 29th, you will also see the folders for day 1 through 2 and day 3 through 4. You're going to click on the folder that says day 1 through 2, 125 to 126. And all of the stuff that's in there is about characterization. Now, you most likely clicked on this one first, but I recommend clicking here first. And this gives you, not that, it gives you this handout. It's important that you look at this handout first because the graphic organizer is actually what you use to write the paper. So this is only meant to help you with this. So why don't we start here? So it says here, read the following quote. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. And then you have a statement to think about. According to Machiavelli, people are rarely who they say they are. And then you have your actual prompt. Using what you've learned about Macbeth's character, write a 300-word essay stating your position on whether or not people really are who they seem to be. You have the scoring rubric, and I'll break this down for you briefly. You would have gotten a 0 if you didn't include any text evidence. So if you wrote about your personal experiences, or you're only thinking about your personal experiences, then you would have gotten a 0. If you mention Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, but you don't say specifically what they did in the play, then you would get a 1. If you mention Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and you mention what they did, then you would get a 2. Now, if you mention what they did and your evidence was the best evidence that you could have pulled to support your ideas, and if your explanation was very reasonable, then you would have gotten a 3. And so that's how that's broken down. So let's go to the first step. Step 1 is unlocking the prompt. And it says annotate the prompt by highlighting the action verbs and underlining all the major nouns. So this here is not the prompt. This is just the statement, right? This is actually the prompt. So the action verbs would be write, and you're stating, I forgot this one here. You're using. There. All right. So you're writing something, and you're stating something, and you're using something. So the major nouns means the nouns that are important to the prompt. Um, you're going to write an essay. Okay. And Macbeth's character is what we're focusing on. And you're going to state your position. All right. So we're going to go down here and we're going to rewrite the prompt in our own words. Again, we're not looking at this part. This is just a statement. Okay. We are focusing all of our energy and attention right here. So we're going to rewrite the prompt in our own words. Write an essay that states your position. And then I'm going to put this in parentheses. Are people really who they seem to be? Okay, write an essay that states your position. Use Macbeth's character. This part is very important because, again, you should not have any personal experiences in your paper. This paper is all about Macbeth. I know that that's different for you because maybe you haven't been told that you have to use text evidence in your writing. Maybe for your essays, you're more used to writing about your personal experiences. But this is a really big shift that we're all taking. And so this is something that you definitely have to get used to, especially if you're planning to go to college. You will be doing this in college. So it's best to just get used to it now so that it's easier for you later. So again, no personal experiences in your essay. Okay. Are you writing to inform or persuade? Well, look here. It says states your position. What this means is that you have an opinion, right? And when you are writing to inform, you don't have an opinion. You're just telling somebody what something is. You're explaining a procedure, you're explaining how something works, or maybe how something doesn't work. But you don't have a position or an opinion. Now, when you are writing to persuade, you do have an opinion. Persuade because I have to state my opinion about whether or not people really are who they seem to be. Okay. Now here's the thing. It does say here, if you don't know the difference, watch this video. And even though I'm explaining it here that it's persuade, there are certain elements that you need to have in persuasive writing. If you don't know what those elements are, then you definitely want to click on this video and watch the video because they explain very quickly what you need to have in your persuasive writing. How many words should the essay be? Well, up there it says 300. So yes, everybody's expected to write a 300-word essay. All right, so this is the second part of this. And yeah, you are expected to do steps 1 and 2. Okay, so step 2 is a graphic organizer. Now here you're supposed to answer the question. And what we did was we are including part of the prompt so that you can answer it in a complete sentence. So I've made it kind of fill in the blank for you. Macbeth's character, you will say that Macbeth's character does support the idea that people are who they say they are, or you'll say Macbeth's character doesn't support the idea that people are who they say they are. And you have to give a reason. Why do you say that Macbeth's character does support the idea? Why do you say Macbeth's character doesn't support the idea that people are who they say they are? You need to have one reason here and one reason here. So let's say that I said doesn't support. One reason that I would have is that because they because people aren't always honest, and then and because people often want what you have. If you want to use that, then feel free to use that. Okay, so then we go to the text evidence. Reason number one for the text evidence. This is where you actually go back to the graphic organizer that you were supposed to fill out. And you need to find text evidence that supports what you said here. So this is reason number one, right? I'm going to do this just to remind you. Number one, people aren't always honest. And then number two, people often want what you have. So number one, people aren't always honest. Why would I say that? Because I'm going to pull this piece of text evidence right here. And yes, you can copy and paste from your graphic organizer to this graphic organizer. All right. And so just by itself, it doesn't really make sense, right? That's why you have to explain your evidence. Okay, so Macbeth has been thinking about killing Duncan ever since he talked to the three witches. He smiled in Duncan's face, bowed, and even seemed thankful for his promotion to Thane of Cawdor. However, in his okay, however, he said to himself that if he were going to kill the king, if he were going to kill, let's say King Duncan, it's best that he do it quickly. All right. So notice that I'm saying here, he smiled at Duncan's face, bowed, and even seemed thankful. Right. And then here, he said to himself that if he was going to kill King Duncan, he needed to do it quickly. So that's directly related to my first reason that people aren't always honest. Because again, he was smiling in Duncan's face, and then he was thinking to himself, like, hey, I gotta kill this guy quick. Okay. So then I could say this shows Macbeth to be, and I'll go back here. You know, all these trait words that we have, we can use them. So I'm going to go ahead and say deceitful. This shows Macbeth to be deceitful because he is not being honest about his feelings with King Duncan. Or I should say he's not being honest about, yeah, about how he feels about King Duncan there, because I don't really expect him to say, hey, King Duncan, these women told me that I should kill you so I could become king, right? So this makes more sense. This shows Macbeth to be deceitful because he is not being honest about how he feels about King Duncan. Now, I want you to see how many words is that. I mean, it's obviously not as many as we need it to be, but word count. That's 72. That's just short of 100 words, right? And you need 300. So we got 72, and we'll grab this one too, right? So we got 72, and we got 16. So as you can see, we are racking up on our, let's say, okay, we're racking up on our words. I'll even grab this one here. Oops. Okay, I got a whole bunch of different things going on here. Tools, word count. Okay, so we're at over 100 words. It's like 108 or something like that, with just that sentence, that little piece of text evidence, and that explanation. It is very easy to hit 300 words if you are including the information that you need to include. Okay, so I'm not going to do number 2. I will let you do number 2. But I'll go back up here for you to see that reason number 2 says people often want what you have. Now you can use this one or you can use something else. Feel free. It's your choice. But whatever you do, you need to make sure that you are backing up your reasons with text evidence. So please make sure that you're pulling from that chart. If you didn't do the chart, then you've made it a little harder for yourself to do the writing. But it is still possible for you to get this work done. Now, step 3, you'll notice that you don't actually have to do anything. It's just telling you how to format your paper. Your intro paragraph will include the answer to the question. Note, this is not your entire intro. This is just a piece of it. Then your body paragraph, and it says body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, but you honestly could put your paragraph, you could put your text evidence all in the same paragraph. You can have one body paragraph, that's fine. But as you can see, it's broken down. Body paragraph 1, I'll show you how to format your body paragraphs really quickly. So going up here to our thesis statement, our first reason, people aren't always honest. And that's actually going to be the topic sentence to our body paragraph. So I'm gonna put body paragraph so that you know what I'm writing here. Tab to show that it is a new paragraph. People aren't always honest. Period. Again, that was my first reason. For example, in the play Macbeth, and I'm going to italicize that. When Macbeth visited King Duncan, he not visited, we say visits, because you're supposed to use present tense when you're writing about literature. When Macbeth visits King Duncan, he says to himself, and then we have our quotation mark. And what did he say to himself? Ugh. Okay, so I am definitely going to copy and paste. Copy, only because of how it is written there. Now, here's the thing. This is definitely not the way that it needs to be. I want it to look like the rest of my writing. So I am going to bold it and I'm going to make it 12-point font. Okay, so when Macbeth visits King Duncan, he says to himself, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it done quickly. And then I would basically just take what I put here. And yes, I'm okay with you copying and pasting because it is your work. If you're copying and pasting from the internet, or if you're copying and pasting from a classmate, that's not acceptable. But if you're copying from your graphic organizer into your paper, then that is absolutely fine. Like, I believe in working smarter, not harder. I'm going to get rid of these lines. There. People aren't always honest. For example, in the play Macbeth, when Macbeth visits King Duncan, he says to himself, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it done quickly. And then I have my citation here. So you know it came from Act 1, Scene 7, lines 1 through 2. Macbeth had been thinking about killing Duncan ever since he talked to the three witches. He smiled at Duncan's face, bowed, and even seemed thankful for his promotion to Thane of Cawdor. However, he said to himself that if he were going to kill King Duncan, it's best that he do it quickly. This shows Macbeth to be deceitful because he is not being honest about how he feels about King Duncan. In this way, Macbeth is proving that how do I say that? Machiavelli is right when he says that people aren't who they seem to be. So you see how I brought it back to the prompt, because our prompt is, are people really who they seem to be, right? So now I can add in my second body paragraph, which is going to start with my second reason. People often want what you have. Now, I don't have to write it exactly like that. I just have to have a similar idea. Um, People can be very jealous and desire the things that other people have. So I'm saying the same thing, just wording it slightly different. So just like I did here, for example, in the play Macbeth, I can do the same thing. Um, in the play, and I'm just going to leave it there because, again, you should have your own text evidence, and I got to give you something to do, right? So if you want to go with this reason, you can use the same beginning of the paragraph, and that's fine. And then you would just include your text evidence and you would include your explanation the exact same way that you see it here. Of course, don't forget, and I'm going to take away this part that says body paragraph. I only have that there so that you know what's supposed to go there, okay? But I am going to write intro paragraph. That's what you need to have in front of this. Please don't just start your essay with the body paragraph, okay? And then, of course, after you're done with this body paragraph, then you'll have your conclusion. So what you need to do is type in your intro, and don't forget that you need to include this thesis statement with your intro. In fact, yeah, I guess if your body paragraphs are this long, which I hope that they are, then yeah, you can just use this here. I'm okay with that. Copy, paste. Now, you're going to do some formatting to make sure that you don't have all these lines all over the place. Don't be messy about it. We're going to get rid of all of that. Okay. Because again, you're turning this in for a grade. You don't want it to look like, you don't want it to look bad, all right? We're going to do the indent. And what I do is I hit the tab button to indent. That's to show that I'm starting a new paragraph. All right. Another thing that you need to do is make sure that you have MLA heading. English 4, Miss Camper. And then what is today's date? It is the 5th. Okay. And I am also going to include title. People really who they seem to be, question mark, ask Macbeth. Now by the time you're done writing yours, you might have like a neater title. Don't use mine, don't use my title, it's my title. But your paper should look something like this by the time you are done. Okay, you should have your heading, your title. This will be your intro paragraph. Please understand that this is not an actual paragraph, but because you're putting most of your work in the body paragraphs, then I'm saying that this is okay. But normally this is not the size of an intro paragraph. Normally an intro paragraph is somewhere between 4 and 8 sentences. All right, so you also will need to type your conclusion, right? So you'll finish that body paragraph and you will type up your conclusion. When you are done, I need you to submit through Schoology. Please do not share your work with me. Again, submit through Schoology. I hope that this has helped you. If you need any additional help with completing this writing assignment, just email me or send me a message through Schoology or through Remind to let me know. And I look forward to reading your papers.